My name is Jan Northri. I am the president of the Kemper Memorial Park Preservation Fund, a newly incorporated not-for-profit. I would like to introduce the other people who are here with me today: Mark Schumer, Susan Amlick, Tony Marcella, and Mary Cronin. All of us are involved with the preservation of the Richard M. Kemper Memorial Park, and we would like to share with you our plans for its future. In 1945 and 1946, Adolph and Helen Kemper purchased 3 parcels of land on the Boston Post Road and donated them to the Mamaroneck School District. The Kempers then razed the dilapidated buildings that were on this land and created a beautiful and contemplative, quiet memorial park. This memorial park was designed to honor their only son and the other 98 individuals from the community who gave their lives during World War II. For some in this community, after the memorial park was dedicated in 1947, the park was the place they came to grieve because their loved ones were buried overseas or buried at sea, or their bodies were simply never recovered. Mary, as a teacher at Mamaroneck High School, when did you first become aware of the existence of the World War II Memorial Park?
In the fall of 2000, we were in contact with the Kemper family, and we began to offer an essay contest. And this year will be our 5th year, and every year we give the kids a couple of different questions to answer, and the Kemper family provides a cash prize.
And since then, how else have you used the park in your curriculum?
Well, in curriculum, especially this year since I'm teaching 10th grade, I'm getting ready to bring my students out to the park because we just did D-Day, and we're going to finish up the War in the Pacific, and then we're going to go out to the park to spend some time with the names that are on the memorial in the park.
What do you think is the most important lesson that your students learn from the park?
I think there were a couple lessons. I think probably the most important one is to honor the sacrifices of those that have given their lives for us. And I also think honoring commitment is extraordinarily important.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. Tony, why don't you tell us about the portrait that you brought with you today?
On the left side is my, on the right side is my brother John J. Marcella. On the far right, my brother Gaetano Marcella, and I'm in the center. We're all 3 in the service at the same time. My brother John and I left for the service on the same day, January 26, 1943. They sent him to Texas, and I went to North Carolina. He trained in the armored forces, and I was in the quartermaster corps. I saw a bulletin board seeking to have anyone who could speak, read, or write Italian put their name on the bulletin on the board there, because the Allies were being prepared for the invasion of Sicily, and they needed interpreters. I grew up the first 5 years of my life speaking nothing but Italian at home, and then I was an altar boy, and the same vowels in Latin as Italian. Then I went to Mamaroneck Avenue School, and in high school I took up shorthand and typing, and then when I was in Fort Bragg, I put my name on the bulletin board, and out of 120,000 soldiers at Fort Bragg at the time, mine was the only name that came up, and they took me and sent me to Pennsylvania for training to go overseas. When I got the call to go to Pennsylvania, I called home and told them not to write to me anymore in North Carolina. I was at a camp in Pennsylvania. And my sister told me, John is also in the same camp in Pennsylvania as you are. So I did what I had to do, and we met. We were across the street from one another, in our barracks. And then he shipped out 3 days before I did, and that was the last time that I saw him. My father was a veteran of World War I. This is his cap from the American Legion, Mamaroneck. I belong to the American Legion in Mamaroneck and the VFW also in Mamaroneck. Here are some medals. One was a Good Conduct Medal, which I don't know how I got it. This is the medal for the European Theater of Operations with 4 battle stars, 1 for Sicily and 3 for Italy. Here is a World War II Victory Medal. And a Marksman Medal. I took a shot at a target and somehow I hit the frame, so that qualified me. In this box is a Purple Heart, which my family received posthumously after the death of my brother. The most vivid memory I have of my brother comes in this Bill Malden cartoon. Say this big guy over here is my brother, okay? And the little girl here with the tin can, it could be any child, but this happened to be in Italy. And my brother wrote to me that he would rather be dead than see American kids suffering the way those kids were suffering anywhere in Europe or in the Pacific for that matter. I have permission from the Autorino family, that's Chubby and Betty Autorino, who lost their brother Sam and a cousin named George Panessa in the service. Also from Armando Lancia, whose brother Guido died in the service. Steve Santangelo, the brother of Attilio Santangelo, who I graduated high school with, as did Gloria. And from Richard Cantor. All these people said it's okay to mention their name. It's not easy for everybody to talk about this.
What does the Richard Kemper Park mean to you and your family and these other families that you've mentioned?
Okay, I'm happy that you asked me that. My brother was in a tank. The tank got knocked out. The 5 men in the tank, only 2 bodies were positively identified. The other 3 bodies, whatever pieces they could collect, the graves registration put in one grave with 3 names on the stone. Guido Lancia, who grew up in the neighborhood with us, was a very good friend with my brother and myself, and he was in the Air Force, and he was in a bomber that crashed in France. And there, positive identification could not be made, so there is a grave maybe 6 or 7 plots away from where my brother is buried in Kentucky, with Guido and 9 other names on the monument. So they were close friends in life and close in death. The remains were brought back in 1949. My brother Guy and I went to the burial. I had not been back there since. So visiting at the Kemper Memorial gives me the opportunity to grieve in a very close by area. There's no way that I think I will ever get over to Kentucky again. So that's what the Kemper Memorial means to me.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Tony. It's very moving. For my part, I became aware of the Richard M. Kemper Park Memorial's existence when I was the president of the Larchmont Historical Society. I was immediately struck by this moving story of a grieving family who created for their community a permanent and beautiful reminder of the loss that not only they, but so many members of the community had endured during World War II. Mark, we haven't heard from you yet. When did you get involved in the movement to preserve the park, and what was your motivation?
It began probably back around 2000, 2001, when heard about the contest that the school district was holding to get the kids involved in the park and for the kids to write their essays. In subsequent year, my son participated and he was one of the winners. My wife is the niece of Tony Marcella, so of course we have a long history of the park, of the memorial. But it really hit home then how wonderful the park is as far as it being a great asset to the community and making the community see that it has a wonderful history. And there are many parks around. In Tompkins Park, you have the same thing for World War I veterans. And how many descendants there still exist in the community of those names that are on the Tompkins Park Memorial. So I love the fact that there is a history, there is a heritage, and that the community is very, very involved. And I would just like to try to preserve that and try to encourage those that are coming into the community subsequently to know about that, to know about the history, and to know about the things that make this a special place. And I think that that's really what the Kemper Memorial Park Preservation Fund is trying to do as an organization and as a foundation, to make people aware that this is not just a stone, this is not just trees, this is not just an area that's been dedicated to the 99. It's more. It's significantly more. And whatever we can do as an organization, I think that's fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Susan, how about you?
Well, I became involved in the Kemper on rather late. It was last spring, and I was extremely concerned when I found out that it was part of the budget vote to destroy the park. And having driven by so many times to see the beautiful trees, especially in the spring when they're blossoming, it's just lovely. And I did take the opportunity to go over there and take some pictures, and when I was under the canopy, I just felt the spirits there. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place. And I can't believe that there's this plan to destroy something that means so much to me as the daughter of a Navy veteran. I just think that it's very morally and ethically wrong, and that's how I became involved.
Well, thank you. Yeah, talking about the memorial and what is the memorial, we have had so many misconceptions in the community that we feel we need to point out that the monument is the memorial and is not the memorial. sorry, that it's the park that is the memorial. And we've all noticed the green trees. We know it's there. And the monument is simply serving as an historical marker to tell us why the park is there and who it honors. So we did want to make that clear. Mark has pretty much covered the goals of our group, I think, or did you want to add anything more to that, Mark?
Yeah, I think what's significant to us are there's really two main purposes for us. First, we love what the school district has done lately, both at the Homics and at the high school, in working with the veterans of the community to have them become almost a living history, which makes the veterans in World War I, World War II, Korean War, the Vietnam War, a very real part of history. And I think that the park and the memorial, in essence, can become part of that curriculum. And I think we will try very, very hard to continue to create programs working hand in glove with the school district, whether it be the Homics or whether it be at the high school, where we could have creative and innovative and fun types of events and functions that will make history come to life at the park. The other thing, as I said, and it's really very, very significant to me and I believe to our organization, is that to enhance the community, to make people feel that they're coming to a community, that they're coming into a village and a town, or villages and a town, that has a soul, that has a heart, and that has a history and has a wonderful heritage. And I think we're going to put forward our best effort to genuinely portray not just that memorial and at the park, but our community in the best light. So I think that really does serve as two of the critical, goals of our organization and our committee.
Oh, thank you. Yes, indeed. We are confident that this group will be operating far into the future, not only for our children, but for our children's children. This memorial park is a wonderful asset. It tells in real-life terms the impact that the most violent conflict in the history of man had on our community. As with the new World War II memorial in Washington, D.C., it marks the price of freedom. Research is now being done on the 99 individuals named on the monument. Each story is more gripping than the one before. These were real people with real lives. Through the stories of these individuals, today's students can learn about the major battles of World War II, D-Day, the Battle of the Bulge, North Africa, Anzio Beach, Saipan, Guam, Okinawa, the list goes on and on. Through the stories of these individuals, the emotions on the home front are also made clear. It was the custom during the war to present the families of those who were serving in the armed forces a Blue Star banner to hang in their window. Some homes had 3 or 4 Blue Star banners. If there was a death, the families were then awarded a Gold Star banner. The Gold Star banners were in every neighborhood. We have located the addresses of 79 of the individuals honored by the park, and gold stars have been placed on a map of our community, which is right over here. This map graphically tells the story of the devastation felt during and after the war years here in the town of Mamaroneck. Here is the Gold Star banner that is now being remade for the war in Iraq. The American Legion is now doing the Blue Star banners and the Gold Star banners for those who are serving in Iraq. From friends, neighbors, relatives, and local newspapers, we are told of the wails of the mothers that reverberated through the streets when news of their son's death was received. Several items intrigued us when we were doing the research. Unlike most other wars, all socioeconomic groups were represented in this war. While some of the men had attended Exeter, Princeton, Yale, and Harvard, others had left high school before graduation to work in local factories and shops. Many enlisted right after high school graduation, and one young man enlisted while still a student at Mamaroneck High School. All age groups were represented. The youngest were only in their late teens, while the others were in their 50s and had fought in World War I. Many ethnic groups were represented. A large number were sons of immigrants. Germany and Italy, both enemies of the United States in World War II, were two of the countries from whence their fathers and or mothers came. Richard Kemper's father came from Germany, and Toni Marcella's parents came from Italy. The one thing that they all had in common was that they gave their lives for their country. We are now coming to you for help in preserving and enhancing this valuable community asset. Mark, could you explain to people how they can donate either time or money to this important cause?
If you would like to donate to the Kemper Memorial Park Preservation Fund, we'd be happy to receive a check. You could be mailed to my address. That would be 3 Highland Road in Larchmont, New York, 10538. And also, we will be having many, many different types of programs, and we could use volunteers, and we could use volunteers' ideas on many of the things that they would like to see happening at the Memorial Park. We're going to work very, very closely with the school district to continue the living history, but also some functions maybe on Memorial Day, on Veterans Day, and on other holidays that might make sense for the kids to partake, as well as for the community to access the park and have some kind of a function there. So whatever ideas, that would be the volunteer part. Any ideas that anybody has, please contact us. There too, you can send us a letter to my attention at the Kemper Memorial Park Preservation Fund, 3 Highland Road in Larchmont, New York, 10538. Thanks for any type of contribution we can get.
Thank you very much, both of you, and good night.
Hi, I'm Amy Bisno, and I'd like to welcome all of you to the Joint Student and Veterans Day ceremony. This is truly a special day, and we as students wanted to thank you for coming to honor the brave men and women who fought for the U.S. I'd like to introduce Scott Schnurr, a student at Mamaroneck High School, who would like to honor our present fighting forces serving our country in Iraq and other volatile situations.
Today, I'm here to read you something that I wrote in honor of the U.S. soldiers serving in overseas wars. While we are gathered here today to honor the veterans that served in past wars, we must also pause to honor the soldiers serving today. Scattered around the globe, fighting valiantly in order to liberate Iraq and quell the terrorist threats in Afghanistan, they struggle every day to protect and promote the values on which this country was founded. Although there is strong opposition to these wars on the home front, they must know that we will not forget them, and neither will history. They will join the ranks of the greatest generation, the ranks of all the brave heroes, the Americans, who have fought, died, and given everything for our liberties.
Above all, we must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of all the world are so formidable as the will and moral and courage of free men and women. It is a weapon adversaries in today's world do not have. President Ronald Reagan.
Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude. America will never forget their sacrifices. President Harry S. Truman.
At the dedication ceremony of the Richard Kemper Park on May 25, 1947, one of the speakers, Colonel Lentz, recalled the words of Washington Irving. The idol of today pushes the hero of yesterday out of our recollection. He then turned to Mr. Kemper, the donor of the park, and concluded, in presenting this park, you have seen to it that the heroes of yesterday will not be pushed out of our recollection or the recollection of the generations of boys and girls to come. The Daily Times, Mamaroneck, New York, May 26, 1947.
America's shrines to democracy can teach us about the values that sustain us in times of trial. Take your children to our memorial parks and monuments. Teach them the values that lend meaning to our lives and to the life of our nation. Above all, take the time to honor our fellow Americans who have given their last full measure of devotion to our country and for the freedoms we cherish. Secretary of State Colin Powell.